Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, peace and praise, grand rising, blessed ones. This is Blair, your cancer care bear, or just your care bear. No hair, don't care, all faith, no fear. So, I wanted to come forward with you all for the listeners who I always appreciate because I can't hold back anymore. I was doing my daily devotionals and what I came in to read was very convicting, very eye opening. It dawned on me, and I have to, I can't hold back. Galatians 5:22-23 says, "The fruit of the spirit is love, joy, peace, forbearance, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control." That's what Galatians 5 says. And if I can just go a little bit deeper ahead of that, in chapter 13, in verse 13, it talks about how we were called to be free and to use our freedom, liberty, to, if you will, not to be indulged by the flesh or, hate, but to serve one another. And even when I go to my daily planner, going to James chapter 5, it talks about confessing your faults and being, each other's, when I say each other, I mean you and I, being holding each other accountable, praying for one another. I want to humbly say this. Nobody's perfect. However, we still have to strive to be better. And I have the Spirit of God in me, the Spirit of Christ. Those of you who knows me knows that I am a Christian. I am a believer. And I want to be a better follower. I want to be a better servant. So that's why it's important to surround yourself with not just positive people, but with believers and whatnot. But again, I'm not going to conform or convert anyone. But I'm not going to conform myself to the flesh, but I want to be more confirmed in the spirit. And I want to share a story with y'all. Just a quick background to double back down on, who I am. Double back is available on all streaming platforms. My music, double back, but it is like a soundtrack, just as far as about being a young boy from Virginia, being raised in a Christian household, being a military brat, having parents that were divorced at a young age, who had both parents in their life. Whether or not my upbringing was conflicted by the separation. I didn't always have, the relationship with God that I have now. And you can just call this a confessional or a testimonial, because I do want to enlighten the listeners exactly who I am today. Because as I mentioned on the previous episode, everything that's going on in the media, social media, everything going on with, in the entertainment, which I still somewhat pay attention to, with Diddy, Cardi B and Offset, uh, the longshoremen's strike, everything that's happening with this election. We have to be vigilant and, of course, pay attention to everything for awareness. But I'm someone who tries not to allow it to consume me to where the negative energy possesses me, because that is a real thing. Energy is a real thing. It cannot be created nor destroyed. So what I believe strongly is that everything can be contagious. So even if you try to avoid one thing, it's going to be another thing. It's okay to, have feelings towards certain things. It's even okay to have an opinion. But, you're not, we're not entitled to always express it. I mean, sure, social media says otherwise. And again, I'm big on social media as well. But for me, personally, just to give y'all something else to consider as my beautiful people and blessed people that I know y'all to be. Because if you listen to me, take the time to listen to me, then you do care enough about what I have to say, or at least intrigued and interested enough to see, what's, what I give. Because I go back and I say I'm not someone who will delete. I'm not someone who will delete a post or delete an episode because of who I am now or transpires. Like, I'm still going to, I can still like somewhat talk about certain topics, but I'm not going to condemn anyone or try to be a internet lawyer or internet doctor, or just have all these negative fixtures on someone. Best thing I can do is just pray, hold people accountable. If you're wrong, point it out and be like, hey, you're wrong. I'm not going to misjudge you, for I understand. I understand why we all sin. I understand why we might have different views. It's not the views or the perspective that is wrong. But what I will say is, even in the entertainment industry, whether it's media, whether it's sports, whether it's just reality TV, whatever it is, like, this is there for our entertainment, sure. And of course, social media does open the door for a lot of people's insight and opinions on things. Even for me, it could be ironic that I will express myself and takes on the show, but what I want to be is more of a positive light. We come in this world to experience the world. We are born into sin, but we shouldn't be sinful. We shouldn't be of the world. You can disagree, you cannot like that, but that's just the truth, and I want to live in that truth. Because for me, if you're not helping fix the problem, I'm not going to say that you are the problem, but it's better to just step aside. And I've been guilty of that. You know, I have had my opinions on things that I haven't experienced. So I'm not speaking about my experience. I'm not speaking about my experience, but just to have certain comments about it. So my convictions and confessions that I come on this show to share with you today, as I mentioned to Galatians, going back to Galatians, when it says the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, forbearance, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. And I'm reading that. I'm reading it as I say this. So love's always going to outlast anything else. Love is always going to outlast anything else. So going back again to my relationship with God versus my relationship with the world. God is within me. God is watching me. He's all around me. Now, how I feel internally is how I feel internally. I have to sort that out with God on what I let out. Certain things I have to remove from my spirit that is negative, because at the same time, I can't have hate in my heart. I can't have fear in my heart. I can't have, I can't condemn anyone, but I can correct someone. But like I said, prioritize, and it's prerogative. So if I want to go back, so let me go to another part in Galatians. 5:16. So I say, walk by the Spirit, and you will not gratify the desires of the flesh. For the flesh desires what is contrary to the Spirit, and the Spirit what is contrary to the flesh. They are conflict with each other, so that you are not to do whatever you want. But if you are led by the Spirit, you are not under the law. So, meaning that when the Spirit of God, the Holy Almighty Father in heaven, the Creator, when I'm led by God, because again, I still have to sort out the sins that I'm still sorting out, but the things that the things that I know to be sinful and worldly, I have to be able to chastise that and correct that. Because if I allow the world habits, my poor habits, my bad judgments to convert me, I'm no different than the devil. So I only come on the show today to give you listeners insight on my convictions. I was supposed to be telling y'all a story, so I'm gonna tell y'all this story. Going back into, growing up in church. My mom had 40 plus brothers and sisters. My dad was the only boy out of the 6 that my grandparents had. So, I have a big family. Cousins and everything. Some I know, some I don't. But being from Virginia, being in a melting pot, the part of Virginia where a lot of you who are listening might be familiar with Pharrell, the Clips, Timbaland, Missy Elliott, Family, even I want to say Lonzo Mourning, Allen Iverson, Michael Vick, just a couple of the popular celebrities from Virginia. If you know, you know. But at the same time, I've been in many circles. There's multicultural here in Virginia, especially in the part of Virginia that I'm from, Hampton Roads, Virginia. So being, having to adapt from a 2-parent household to one, and then having to be, being in the circles of, the hood and the suburbs and, white community, black community mixed up. So it's like a mixture of community. So that's why I never really been. That's why I say, hey, I'm probably have a diverse culture mindset. Even, being in the church, being from a church community, we accept all people and, just be able to, whether you're white, black, Hispanic, whatnot. So I don't judge people by their race. And even with, coming from where I come from, I can't judge you by your sexuality. I can't even judge you by your walk of faith, whatever religion you are. What I do want to say is that, I don't want to say I wasn't really bullied, but I may have been picked on. But I think a lot of like your, like average person was picked on as a child. I didn't get a lot of affirmation. I was disciplined. I don't recall receiving a lot of affirmation. A lot of my upbringing was, just listen to your parents. I don't think I had a lot of pain and stuff. So I know my parents come from the area. It doesn't like, hey, you just listen to your parents. Don't question them. Just listen to them. Even with me, it's like I don't think it was even that. I don't think I ever been vocal as far as like how I felt about certain things that I was told. But as I got older and started but being my own person, getting my own, driving friends, all that, not being, sheltered by my parents. Because a lot of times growing up, I always been outside. I always been off the porch. But, I come from, we had family dinners. We had times where, hey, it was family day, family time. We go out on trips and everything like that. So like I said, I come from a big family. So family always been a thing. I wasn't leaning on my friendships. It was just like anything else. Going outside, playing with friends was just like hey, watching TV. But to my point is that I always been a caring person, very forgiving person. I don't know why, but like I say, I just have the spirit of God in me. So fast forward to adulthood, you know, at this point I'm having sex and driving now, but as I form my own relationship with God, the one thing that always stood out, laying toward not your own understanding. Three things last forever: love, faith, and hope. Love being the most important thing. And I don't know what it was. I think even before that time, everything was resonating where it's like, man, I don't know. I can come off as maybe a pushover, sensitive person. I've always been a sensitive person. Regardless of whether I'm a Cancer or not, I just care about people. I care to a fault sometimes where it's like I will misjudge somebody or try to criticize someone because I know that they can do better than what they're doing, because maybe at some point I was dealing with some jealousy where it's like, hey, I want to be free like them. But when I start getting closer and drawing closer to God, I realized that, and even with this as confirmation, my freedom, my free will is to be who God needs me to be. So I want to please God. That's my desire. It's hard for me to please God if I still recognize that, hey, He will forgive me. I can do what I want. But doing what I want, doing the things that pleases my flesh, honestly doesn't serve nothing. There's moments where I must take care of myself. Otherwise, I will form a certain type of energy and attitude to where I'm complaining, because at the same time we subconsciously get contagious to the negative things. So I will at some point get frustrated, aggravated, annoyed, because I know I'm aware of my weaknesses. I'm very much influenced by the world because I care about the world. Because I want us all to be happy. I want us all to be able to live our lives without being judged. And I'm not going to sit here and act like that. It doesn't bother me that there are people that don't walk the path of holy righteousness, because I don't. But it's like I'm working on myself, and I want you to walk with me. That's all I'm saying. It's only because, hey, we live in a world that the devil's in. So I had to come to realization and to, fruitfulness and fruition of that the community, why is someone from Compton calling me? But the community that I'm part of, and that is the Christian community, the hip hop community, and the black community. All these communities are really one and the same, but there's different layers in those. But going back to again to being a believer of God, a believer and follower of Christ, a Christian, it's a chain of command. I have to do what pleases God because I believe and now I know what conviction, what confidence that living for God, living for Christ is worth more than living for self and pleasing everybody else. My duty, is being the reason why it's hard for me to really show hate towards someone to where I neglect them, to where I just remove them, is because I still believe in people. Because like I mentioned this before in prior podcast episodes, is that I see you and myself. So that's the human side of things. But the holy side of things is me being compassionate, being caring, but also being confident in who I am and showing people that, hey, you can have a great, successful, prosperous life serving the Most High. And there's still some things that I have to work on. Again, I didn't want to take for a long time on this, but like I mentioned in Bible class, there's certain things that gets me to that point where I want to be more, like I get vocal, get very expressive, get very active. And I'm not where I want to be. I'm not where I need to be yet. I'm still working on. I still have to, deal with some things eternally. But it's like I like to be a shower in my growth. I've come a long way. It's hard. I understand the struggle. I understand the struggle sometimes. When you're a content creator, when you're someone in a certain industry, you have to make yourself known. You have to be able to present yourself in a certain way. You gotta, when you're a podcaster, content, you need something to talk about. You need something to talk about in order to get your views up, because it is a business. But like I mentioned, I say me personally though, because again, this particular point is just me talking to you and telling you what's on my mind, because I do believe that part of growth does require others to help you grow. You do need God first and foremost, but without communion, without positive reinforcements, you can't reach your level of just serenity. You can't reach your God level without others who share the same purpose. But as always, everything isn't for everybody. So I'm not talking to those who don't have the same faith as me. those who don't have the same faith as me or don't have that same walk with me, they can listen, they can take it in because again, at the same time, I do feel like there is, one understanding of this world. We ought to be on the same page, but not everybody's gonna be in the same book. So when you're not in the same book, then it doesn't apply. The gods are gonna handle that. There are some devil's friends out here as well, and it's just allowing me to recognize that every just because it's to a particular it's for a particular group of people, it doesn't mean that it's just to them. But all I'm saying is that have come to the realization, or at least to reconfirmation, reaffirmation that I am a child of God who I'm God's plan for the most part, really. I'm God's plan. So whether it's podcasting, music, ministry, like my purpose as a servant of Christ is to touch people, to reach people, which would be the better word. To reach people in the way of His word. I love hard, and it hurts when people don't listen to me, especially when I know my intentions are good. I care so much that it hurts that when I call someone up and they don't answer or they don't call back, it does something to my spirit. But see, I have to just recognize that, hey, everybody, hey, you can't. Sometimes, we're not people's priority. Everybody's not going to be as compassionate as you. Everybody's not going to be as determined as you. Everybody's not going to be as concerning as you are. Is it okay? Maybe not. But it goes back again to prioritizing prerogative. I'm not going to deem anyone evil because they're doing something against me. I can recognize when you do something against God. And I think sometimes we often, you know, we know that, hey, nobody's perfect. There is something that we all do that is against God. And I think a lot of times when we say that, oh, well, you do this too, I think it's just to take away from the fact it's like, hey, you can't say nothing to me. But it's like, yeah, I sin every day, striving to sin less every day. It takes time. However, I would recognize that, you might be stronger than me. You might be smarter than me. You might be more stern in your walk with God than me. I mean, I still have to acknowledge it, hold myself accountable, hold others accountable, and let it be. Serving the flesh is no good for our spirit. Serving the flesh is no good for my spirit. Should I even be online gossiping? Should I be amongst friends discussing other people, especially when it's not your experience? See, there's a difference between testimony and gossiping. But I have to concern myself with what is concerning to me and my spirit. I'll say little jokes here and there. But as I get older and my son gets older and my goals and dreams become a lot more serious, I have to take those serious steps. Have to remove certain things out of my spirit. So I give it to God. I pray. I meditate in His Word. Cut off the television. Get off social media. Cut my phone off and meditate in His Word. And then I access those things again. Because we can still like I said, we can still pay attention to certain things. We can still feel a way or have opinions on certain things. But again, I do believe that if we're going to do anything that is meant for good, it has to be the way of what is good, and that's God. I don't want to gossip for just gossip's sake. Let's find some solutions. I'm still working on my communication. Maybe I should work on my editing. Maybe I should work on, my productions. There's a couple other things that I will address, but not on this episode. Stay safe, stay productive, and positive. This is Blair, your Care Bear.